everybody? So we're back talking some more Monarch Legacy of Monsters on the channel, episode 9. We've reached penultimate episode of the season. My excitement was pretty high going into episode 9, mainly due to the fact that we have to figure out what the hell happened to Kate, May, and Shaw when they fell through the portal. And then on top of that, we have some more exciting tidbits of backstory, and one big last revelation that's going to carry over into that exciting finale. Of course, now that it's been confirmed by Shaw that he's been to the Hollow Earth, it's only fitting to see the setup for that expedition in 1962 under the name Operation Hourglass. Seeing as it has been several years now since they lost Keiko, it's kind of sweet in a way how both of these men who very clearly loved Keiko are now taking care of the kid together, co-parenting. I mean, Hiroshi's even calling Shaw Uncle Lee. One of the big burning questions I had initially going into Operation Hourglass, it is the 1960s after all. How in the world are they going to get these people down to the Hollow Earth in the 1960s? Interestingly, it seems as if this operation, the idea around it is put Shaw and these random characters into an orb, lure a Titan close by, and follow the pathway that they use to get around in the Hollow Earth. A theory that on paper sounds a lot easier than it looks, as we do see. Considering we watched the rift explode in a very similar fashion to how it imploded when Shaw blew up the one in Alaska, sadly this is how Shaw and them get stuck in the Hollow Earth. And speaking of Shaw, even though we pretty much knew exactly where they were all going to be, it still was very exciting to see Shaw, May, and Kate all wake up in the Hollow Earth, though they were separated. Shaw and May at least seem to be somewhat relatively close to each other. For some reason, Kate is just nowhere to be found. I don't know how that happened. You think about it, May fell in first, and Shaw and Kate fell in together, so you would think they would be together and May would be somewhere else. And that's disregarding the whole fact they survived the fall at all, so I'll suspend my disbelief a little bit between that and just being in a place like the Hollow Earth with these creatures, having to avoid being struck by lightning, running across forests. Visuals alone for the Hollow Earth, I think, is one of the best elements to all the various creatures. It's just interesting to see different bits of the Hollow Earth that we didn't get to see a whole lot of in Godzilla vs. Kong. As for all the other characters that didn't fall into the Hollow Earth, I was really impressed with some of the screen time that we got with Kentaro, even though the aftermath of the rift explosion messed him up more than I expected. I mean, he's in a hospital bed mangled. It's a shame because Kentaro as a character, the last couple episodes in particular, I don't think he's been the greatest. He's not given a lot to do. But here in episode 9, I thought a lot of his screen time was quite solid. He went on quite an emotional arc, having so much guilt, surviving, feeling helpless, not being able to do anything or help out at all. And it isn't helped by Verdugo sending him home. But I quite liked the conversation he had with his mother as far as opening up to her. And eventually later on he got to tell off Hiroshi for being a horrible father. So to me at least, I think Kentaro was pretty great in the episode. While Shaw and May begin their expedition to try and track down Kate in the Hollow Earth, Shaw mentioning that he knows what he's doing because he's been here before allows us to dig a bit deeper into his experiences, and those moments by far I think are the most interesting storyline-wise. Waking up, having people examining him, going a bit crazy, holding a nurse hostage to see Bill Randa. Depending on how much time had passed, I kind of was hoping we would get to see John Goodman appear once again like he did in the very beginning of episode 1. Sadly, I realized very early on that the dates just wouldn't line up. The first clue was Shaw passing a room watching the Space Shuttle Columbia lift off, and that was in 1982. And we know that Bill died on Kong Skull Island back in 1973. Speaking on Bill a little bit, you definitely understand more why Bill as a character was so unstable, unable to let anything go because of the fact that he lost both Keiko and Lee, two of the people that he holds so near and dear, why he was so desperate back in Kong Skull Island. It's an interesting way to add more context and layers to this character retroactively. Unfortunately, even though there's no more John Goodman as Bill Randa, in his place is a now adult Hiroshi, showing him the knife that he gave him all of those decades ago, revealing that he's actually been gone for 20 whole years. It's 1982, and Lee pretty much reacts like anybody would in this situation once you found out you've been gone for 20 years. The more crazy part about all of this is when we see Shaw's perspective of everything that happened while he was down in the Hollow Earth, getting to watch him and his crew land on the Hollow Earth. Now, we pretty much knew going in that all of these other people with Shaw are quite expendable. I don't even think most of them have names. Immediately, once they got down there, they got attacked by the Ion Dragon before Shaw was teleported back into a forest in Japan. Though I probably maybe would have preferred if we got more of this backstory about Lee Shaw a couple episodes ago, not waiting till the penultimate episode. I think it does put a better perspective on Shaw just in general as a character, getting his fully fleshed out backstory, going through this entire ordeal from start to finish, from creating Monarch to this love affair with Keiko, losing her, losing 20 years of your life, then being forced to be in this facility for several decades, being watched upon, and being reminded of Godzilla when he pops back up on the TV fighting the Muto in 2014. Kind of a side note, but what an odd way to introduce the beginning of this love affair between Hiroshi and Kentaro's mother, because the nurse that Shaw holds hostage ends up being Kentaro's mom, and that seems to be how they met each other and fell in love, even though Hiroshi has a whole other woman at home. I don't know, that moment to me just felt very weird and jarring, and that's not the only weird, jarring moment. Another more jarring moment to me was the transition, going from Kentaro and his mother's emotional moment to just blasting a Nicki Minaj song because Barnes is listening to it. I was not expecting to hear Nicki Minaj at all in this show, but I guess this means that Nicki Minaj is now canon to the MonsterVerse, so that's something. Turns out though, with Barnes' findings, someone is sending a message to Monarch with these gamma bursts and with all the stuff that Shaw's been doing, which is very fascinating with what we get the reveal of at the tail end of the episode. I'm not sure about how you guys feel as far as characters are concerned, but arguably, at least to me, I think Hiroshi is the most difficult character of the show, as far as getting an idea on what exactly his deal is. Even between the flashbacks and the 2015 storyline, just the juxtaposition of philosophies between the two. One moment he tells Lee that he believes that Bill's work made him crazy and doesn't want to continue his research. Yet he seems to be doing some level of independent research in the 2015 storyline regardless if Monarch is involved. And that's on top of just being a pretty terrible father by and large to both his children. But with how everything concludes, I have a strong feeling that the finale next week is going to be pretty big. Finally, at the very tail end of the episode, Kate wakes up in the Hollow Earth. Seems like she doesn't have to worry about anything as far as lightning strikes running through the forest. She has a much different threat entirely. Instead, having to deal with this crazy looking mutant boar. It's kind of a weird blend of plant life mixed with a boar. Though it is relatively small compared to a lot of other MonsterVerse creatures, it's still pretty intimidating. Boars, if you ever look up boars, they're pretty terrifying. Just in the way that it's sizing Kate up. Just before it gets her, she's rescued, but not by Shaw or May, it's freaking Keiko. Keiko actually survived everything that happened back in the 1950s, falling with all the endoswarmers. Back in 1959 is when she fell down here, so she's been down here at least 56 years, which is just crazy to think that she's managed to stay alive this long. But she seems to be pretty formidable with a bow, so maybe that's why. Of course, the next episode is the finale. Honestly, I would just like to see an episode where we get to watch Keiko hunt down a bunch of different titans in Hollow Earth. Either way, next week I think is going to be pretty exciting. Not only just the fact that we're developing this story in the Hollow Earth, I can only imagine how interesting the conversation is going to be between Kate and Keiko. Either way, make sure you share your thoughts down below. What'd you think of episode 9 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters? Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? How'd you feel about all of the reveals here with Shaw's backstory? And the big thing, Keiko is actually alive. Not only that, what do you think is going to be happening with all this stuff in the Hollow Earth? Because we do know that Godzilla and the Ion Dragon are going to have some level of conflict just because it was revealed in a trailer a very long time ago. Either way, show your thoughts down below because part of the fun is having that conversation with you guys in the comment section. Thank you guys, as always, checking out the videos. I always do appreciate it. Be sure to like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. For the next time, I'll see you guys later.